Let's speak to Alan Friedman, who's an Italian political commentator, and he wrote the biography My Way, Berlusconi in his own words. You're joining us from Lugano. Thank you so much for your time with us on Al Jazeera. So what's your reaction to this news that Berlusconi has died?
Well, his health was deteriorating in recent years, but of course, this is a very, very historic figure in post-war Italian history. Silvio Berlusconi was a controversial figure. He was a four-time prime minister. He was tried on various corruption and bribery scandals and tax fraud scandals more than 70 times. He was, in many ways, the original populist in Italy back in the 90s. And although he was controversial, he was also much loved by his followers.
Yeah, he's also been described as really transforming the political landscape in Italy. How do you think he's going to be remembered?
I think Berlusconi will be remembered as a billionaire media mogul who built a big commercial television system in Italy in the 80s. And then in the early 1990s, he'll be remembered as the man who, when scandals caused the collapse of the Italian post-war political party system, Berlusconi formed a party called Forza Italia. He launched it with Madison Avenue advertising tactics, using his own company to get elected, his own television. And he will be considered a controversial figure who never really accomplished anything substantial on the economic policy front or in doing great reforms for Italy, and seemed mostly interested in protecting himself from legal problems. So he'll be considered a brilliant but flawed figure in history.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about the controversies. Obviously, there were many, as you were saying, but at the same time, you say that he was loved. How do you explain that?
Well, Berlusconi, to his credit, was what the Italians like to call simpatico. He had charm, he had charisma, and he loved to tell anecdotes and stories. As his biographer, I had to listen to the same stories many times over when I was virtually living with him in 2014-15, writing the biography and making a documentary. He was also a very egotistical man. In the documentary My Way, which was based on the book, which ran for 5 years on Netflix and which I now have the rights to, in that documentary, Berlusconi takes me on a tour of his house, his mansion, his pictures of himself as Superman, his swimming pool, his family church, his football field. He was a very grandiose billionaire figure as well. So on the one hand, he had charm. On the other hand, he was accused of breaking the law and ultimately was convicted for criminal tax fraud and had to serve a year of community service.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Alan Friedman. We appreciate your time. Alan Friedman speaking to us from Lugano. And just to bring you right up to speed with what we know so far is that the former Italian Prime Minister, Silvio Berlusconi, has died at the age of 86. He had served multiple terms as leader, and what we know is that he was admitted to hospital in Milan on Friday for what aides were describing as pre-planned tests related to his leukemia. But we now know that he has died. That happened a little earlier on today.